Hey YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. I am seriously so stoked to finally be bringing you guys my full fitness story. I feel like my story and my lifestyle has ripened, I'm going to use that word, just enough to the point where I'm able to confidently share it with you guys and hopefully be a source of inspiration and motivation to you today. Just a quick disclaimer before we get started, everybody's fitness journey is going to be completely and utterly unique to them. We're all made as beautiful individuals and no one is going to have the same story. Please remind yourselves not to compare your life to mine. Please don't use what I say today as any source of academic or educational advice. I am simply sharing my stories, opinions, and experiences to hopefully motivate you to change your life as well. Now, without any further ado, let's just jump right into my full fitness story. So I was your typical average skinny but athletic kid. I loved running around playing tag at recess and dodgeball during gym class. My parents set me up with a really good relationship to healthy food from early on because they simply just ingrained it into my mind that healthy food was the only option. We actually barely ever went out to eat at restaurants, and the only time that we actually only had junk food in the house was when we had pretty much some kind of a celebration because it was someone's birthday or a holiday of some sort. Outside of school, I was also really active because I was part of a soccer league, and I was also a rhythmic gymnast for 5 years. Rhythmic gymnastics, I feel, really introduced me to the world of fitness because gymnastics is a purely bodyweight sport. I remember that every time that we would go have a gymnastics session a couple of times a week, we would start our sessions with a warm-up and a workout. I did that pretty much between the ages of 9 through 14. I absolutely loved it, but I didn't really see myself moving into it professionally by any means, and it was ridiculously expensive, so after about 5 years, I dropped out right as high school was starting. Generally speaking, I was a really active, fun, happy, and energetic kid, but I had a really big amount of social anxiety and I was super shy. So when high school started and I was responsible for making new friends and meeting new people, I was super anxious about the whole thing. I struggled to make a lot of friends, and in grade 9 and 10, I was honestly really bullied, so it definitely wasn't the best experience of my life. Being bullied honestly put me into a really negative mindset, and my shyness didn't really help with anything. So I turned to the one thing that I thought I could control, which was essentially my food intake. And this was a time where I developed a really weird relationship to food. I would either eat way too much and just binge, or I wouldn't eat at all. This weird relationship with food where I was pretty much eating too little and then binging and then eating too little and then binging developed into a weird habit that lasted honestly well throughout my first year of university. That first semester of university was really difficult. It was hard to make friends, my grades were suffering, and on top of that all, I actually got my first job. I was a hostess at a dessert restaurant, and that took up literally all of my weekends. So if I wasn't at school or at work or sleeping, I wasn't working out or doing anything else that was productive. Soon enough, my second semester of my first year of university started, and I actually had a really random coincidence appear because one of my friends from high school, who I had pretty much lost contact with, ended up being in one of my university classes. And she came up to me one day and we ended up having a really great conversation where both of us could relate about the stresses of university. She actually ended up suggesting that we should go to the gym sometime, and I had never been in the university gym before. I was so nervous, I didn't know what I was doing. I ended up agreeing because at least we both didn't know what we were doing, so I felt a little bit less uncomfortable. Because I still didn't know much about nutrition and I just knew you had to burn a lot of calories to get skinny, I remember hopping up onto the elliptical or the treadmill with her, and we would go for like an hour and just watch those calories increasing and increasing and increasing, and when I would see like 300 calories burned, 500 calories burned, 700 calories burned, I'd be like, hell yeah, I'm doing amazing, I'm burning all these calories, and I'm gonna be so fit. That lasted for probably like a good 3 or 4 months before I started getting bored from all of the cardio. Once my first year of university ended and summer had started, this was summer 2015 now, I actually decided to go onto YouTube one day and randomly type in at-home workouts, how to get fit from home, healthy breakfast ideas, and a bunch of other health-related topics. At this time, vlogging was just becoming popular on YouTube. I ended up finding a lot of really fun videos of people my age who were getting healthy and fit, and I felt for the first time like I could actually relate to these people. I decided to work out from home every single day, and I would pretty much just follow any random YouTube workouts that I could find, or I would go on a lot of outdoor runs. The summer passed, and I actually ended up seeing that my body was changing in small ways. I had a little bit more muscle tone than ever before, and I actually felt pretty good. So when the next school year started, my second year, this was now 2015 moving into 2016, I developed enough confidence that I actually started going to the gym alone. At this point in time, I was getting pretty inspired to make some pretty big life changes because I could actually see my body starting to change for the very first time. And so I decided to look more into nutrition, healthy eating, how to structure workouts, and I would watch either a lot of YouTube videos or I would go on websites like bodybuilding.com to learn a little bit more about fitness from accredited professionals. In 2016, there was a trend that actually appeared on YouTube that some of you might be familiar with, and this was pretty much the concept of going high carb, low fat vegan. The messages that these people were preaching, and most of them were my age, were honestly super motivating, and I was pretty influenced. So I decided on May 12th of 2016 to go fully vegan. I found it pretty easy to go vegan simply because my ethics were in line with that diet already. I cared a lot about animals and the environment, so I had another reason to do it on top of my health. Now, this is not me hating on vegans. Let me tell you, I think it's a beautiful and ethical diet that can work for many people. But for me in particular, it just didn't work. I personally think that a vegan diet can be super beneficial to people's health. However, if you do it wrong, or if you have sensitivities to a lot of vegan food, which I'll get into in a second, then it just might not work for you. Since I was little, I've actually been really sensitive to very particular foods that are naturally considered vegan. I have a lot of sensitivity to grains such as rices, heavy amounts of starches or wheat-based products, as well as soy and refined sugars. In addition, my body really didn't agree with beans and legumes and overall vegetables that have a very high amount of raffinose in them. That is a very particular sugar that your body tends to bloat from really easily. Sure, you could argue that I had a chance to eat lots of fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and all that other kind of stuff, but when you take away pasta and rice and particular grains, you couldn't eat soy or tofu, there's no meat or dairy, obviously. I mean, what's left? And so life while following this diet became incredibly difficult. I developed a series of health problems in a very short amount of time. From the end of 2016 into early 2017, I started to develop really bad stomach aches. I would feel hot, searing pain as if somebody was literally cutting my stomach open. My stomach would inflate and bloat really easily just after drinking a cup of water as well. On top of that, I lost a lot of energy and I started to put on a lot of weight. To make matters worse, I developed hormonal cystic acne at the age of 20. I had never had acne my entire life, so when I randomly started developing it and it was like all over my forehead, I questioned what could have been the cause. And honestly, my only answer was the massive change to my diet. At about this time, I was actually getting ready for 2 major trips. I was going to Ecuador and to Europe. And the span of these trips would be roughly for 2 months. A part of me was freaking out because I didn't want to just leave the country where I would now enter basically no stringent normal healthcare, and I didn't really know what was going on with me. But I looked at it really positively and I thought to myself, well, maybe a trip like this and a change of culture will actually do me some good, and maybe I'll just get better. Indeed, the culture shock, especially from South America, definitely motivated me to change a couple of aspects about my lifestyle, and in particular, my diet. At this point, it was difficult to maintain my regular eating habits, and so I actually started to eat wild-caught fish straight from the oceans and eggs from nearby chicken farms. When I would eat natural foods like this, sourced from places that I was familiar with, I didn't feel terribly ethically, and in addition, I actually felt really good physically. When I came back from all these travels, I knew that I clearly had to make a little bit of a change. This was a time when I was looking into different types of diets for people with high amounts of food sensitivities. After numerous months of research, I actually ended up discovering the Paleo plant-based diet. If you guys are interested in learning more about my diet, I'm actually going to link a video above. But in summary, a paleo plant-based diet simply meant that I was limiting the amounts of grains that I would eat, soy, and refined sugars. I already didn't eat meat or dairy, apart from fish, so it was a pretty easy transition. In the span of a couple of months, all the issues that I had beforehand literally disappeared. This for me was a very revelational period in my life because for the first time after struggling with food for such a long time, I actually felt like I was able to control what I ate and feel good about it at the same time. I was able to eat really big amounts of meals with very nutritionally dense sources of food. I practiced this diet for a couple of months and was really happy with the changes. And I was able to stick to it quite strictly and quite well until I went through a pretty big life change at the end of 2017. Right before the new year, I ended up going through a really rough breakup. And I don't know how many of you guys have been through a breakup, but if you've ever had your heart broken, you know that it's probably one of the worst things a human being can experience. Looking back, as sad as that whole incident was, I am so incredibly grateful because the next year of my life would motivate me and inspire me to change my entire mental approach to health and well-being. But it didn't start very easily. For all of 2018, I developed a pretty intense relationship to the gym. I would go work out for like 2 or 3 hours at a time, but I was so sad and so depressed that I would literally just like hop onto the stair climber and like put my hood on and cry and just try to work off the stress and the sadness and the anger through the form of exercise, but it just never went away. As the year passed by, I realized that I was just damaging my body. I wasn't giving myself proper sleep or rest or proper nutrition at that point. And I stepped on the scale one day just to see how much I weighed out of curiosity, and I remember it tipping at over 140 pounds. Now I'm only 5'2½", so to have that much weight on such a small frame is genuinely not healthy. Randomly, I don't even know how I came up with this idea, I decided to properly get educated on training and fitness and healthy eating, and I decided to go through a course that was actually offered at my school to become a certified personal trainer. Now I'm glad that I fulfilled that course, but in all honesty, I didn't really do it to work with other people. I predominantly just wanted to gain the knowledge for my own self. After getting certified and a couple months had gone by, I remember it being the end of 2018. And I don't know why it was December 1st, but I remember just looking at myself in the mirror one day, not even recognizing what I looked like, and just feeling so sad. To me, it wasn't just weight that was caused by stubborn fat. To me, all of that weight that I had gained, roughly 20 or 30 pounds in the past couple of years, had been weight of sadness, despair, depression, and anger, and I really just wanted to get rid of it. At the end of 2018, I looked at myself in my mirror that day, and I kind of just decided, like, I keep trying to force myself to work out. I'm not listening to my body. Like, why do I keep doing this? Something needs to change. And so I made the commitment to properly get healthy and fit, lose some weight, tone up, feel good, but do it entirely for me and not give myself a deadline. I didn't say at the end of 2 months you have to lose 20 pounds or in 6 months you're going to be totally ripped. I just said, let's get fit and let's do this for me. 2019 rolled around and I developed a really good relationship to my body. I listened to my body for the first time. I knew what foods were good for me and I knew what foods I was sensitive to, and I made sure to eat a balanced diet every single day. I created a workout plan where I followed cardio routines and weightlifting routines, and eventually I got into calisthenics, body weight training. Life felt easy because I wasn't forcing myself to do anything unhealthy. I felt in check and in balance. And on July 9th of 2019, I stepped on a scale and noticed that I weighed 109 pounds. I had lost 30 pounds, 31 to be exact. And it wasn't just 31 pounds of stubborn fat, like I said. It was 31 pounds of sadness, despair, depression, and an unhealthy relationship with myself. And now that brings me to present day, where I listen to my body on a daily basis, and health and fitness is not like a 9 to 5 for me. It doesn't just end on the weekends or the evenings. It's something that I prioritize every single day. Now that summarizes my entire health and fitness journey. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you all in my next one.